All right, let's do some more Q&A. I have a question about love spells, or more like banishing love rivals. It is difficult to ask this question because my conscience already tells me to just let it go. Then you should probably let it go. But that is easier said than done. I am just wondering your opinion. At the risk of sounding like a desperate, jealous woman, part of me, Pisces, says to just let it go and work on myself and let the universe work it out. All right, your conscience has already given you your answer. The thing about magic in general is if you don't feel right about what you're doing, that is, if you have mixed emotions over what you're casting or doing, that's when things can go awry and backfire on you, if they work at all. Add to the fact that love spells backfire probably more than any other type of spell. The old saying, careful what you wish for, you just might get it, certainly applies to love spells, especially if you're targeting one specific person. Then that little voice in your head, your conscience, is giving you the correct answer. Absolute confidence is a must in any magical operation that you're doing. And if you feel like it's probably something you shouldn't be doing, then you probably shouldn't. I should probably make a video on the specifics of love spells and the pros and cons, since it's one of the more popular types of spells that come up. Until then, you might want to banish from your mind the thoughts of that other person so that you can move on. Because right now you're under his spell. I know it's a hard thing to do, but it's the right thing to do. And I'm not going to lead you astray. Thanks for the question. You say self-defense isn't baneful magic, but what if someone hurt you or one of your loved ones and you couldn't defend? Would it be baneful to go out another day to give that person hurt that hurt you? That's called revenge. And last I checked, vengeance is baneful. A better strategy would be to beef up your protections. And as I mentioned in a previous video, forgiving them will release that energy and it will return to source, thereby eliminating the need for revenge. Hi, just wondering what you think of evocations. Well, as a ceremonial magician, evocation is what you're basically training for. I think they're essential, but they're not to be taken lightly. The spirits of the Goetia, do you consider it baneful? No, evocation is not baneful, unless you're evoking a spirit to do baneful things. I mean, it's all in the intent of what you're doing it for. It's not baneful if you're not purposely trying to harm someone. As for the Goetic spirits, Lesser Key of Solomon, I would steer clear of that if you don't know what you're doing. There will be videos made on evocation and invocation, however, that's further down the road. The general rule is never call something up that you can't put down. And in the case of the Goetic spirits, it would be like throwing you in the deep end of the pool without first teaching you how to swim. For those who don't know, the Goetic spirits are the 72 demons that King Solomon, had imprisoned in the brass vessel. Now, the word demon means rebellious spirit. And who do you think they're rebelling against? Now, people will say, well, they rebelled against God. But when you stand in the circle with the authority of God, they're going to look for every opportunity to rebel against you. Now, many of them have pleasing personalities. Some of them are indifferent, and there's a handful of them who are downright nasty and quite dangerous. But all of them will trick, deceive, and rebel against you if you leave any loopholes open. The first evocations that you should be doing are the 4 archangels of the quarters, and establish a relationship with them so that they can assist in protecting you with your further evocation operations. All right, these next few questions are from someone who is suffering from tinnitus, persistent ringing in the ears. I know I can visualize regrowth, but what about silence? How do I visualize hearing silence without making myself go deaf? Whoa. Not to mention, it is difficult to meditate or focus with the condition due to being robbed of healthy silence. And that's a good question. How can you draw the state of normal ear function, normal hearing, and its default of silence to you without making yourself go deaf? And in this case, I wouldn't. I would banish the tinnitus. I would make a symbolic representation of the tinnitus, and then I would banish it. The trick, though, is going to be forgetting about the spell that you've cast, in which case I would make up about 5 or 6 sigils, with one of them being the banishing of the tinnitus, and the other 4 or 5 being things that you probably don't really care about all that much, or, just weird things you want to see. Put them away for a month or so until you forget what the sigils mean and can't tell them apart from one another, despite their unique designs. At that point, then I would charge them. And I'm currently working on a course on sigil magic. If you want to get really in depth, then that'll be something to look forward to. But that's the basic idea that I would do in your particular circumstance. You don't want to draw too much silence to you and make yourself go deaf, so instead of that, you want to banish and push away the tinnitus and that constant ringing in your ears. From what you know, what effect does diet have on magic or spiritual energy? If our world is truly about holistic corresponding balance, would it not make sense to put out good energy, but also take in good energy for optimum spiritual health? Absolutely. The body is the temple, after all. Can blessing your food overcome an unhealthy meal if you intend for it to nourish, burn fat, etc.? It helps. I mean, that is the idea behind blessing and saying grace over your food. That and gratitude. But yeah, it's like cleansing and consecrating your ritual tools. It's essentially the same thing for your food. Although when you say grace and bless your food, you want to visualize the white light going into your food and cleansing it. That's the missing component that they don't teach you when you're praying over your food. But don't think that merely blessing your food is going to overcome a lifetime of eating junk food. I mean, let's be sensible here. Garbage in, garbage out. If you feel like shit all the time, it's probably because you're eating shit. Again, a far better strategy would be to do some magic to program your mind to enjoy eating healthy foods. And then your blessings will go much farther. What is fire? Well, fire is an element. Haha, no, seriously, what is it? Is it the Holy Spirit? I candle gazed for the first time the other day, and I felt like I was staring into the force and tension that founded the universe, almost like I could speak to it, or program my intentions into the fabric of the world like a computer. Was my subconscious mind also open, a hypnotic state? I'm assuming yes. Well, you might be interested that in Words of Power, I showed that the symbol for fire is interchangeable with God and the Holy Spirit. And see, this is what I'm talking about when I say, if you do the work, you will come to the same conclusions and answers that I have. This person, after one meditation, one candle gazing meditation, had that information come to him. Meditate, meditate, meditate. It will open all the doors for you. But to answer his question more specifically, fire is neither here nor there. It is between the worlds, and that is a gateway, one of the gateways that you can send your intentions through to reprogram the universe, as you put it. That's kind of what the elements are, aside from Earth, which resonates at our frequency and physicality. But yes, you're on the right track with that. I would keep meditating, because to come into that information after just one meditation session is par excellence. You seem to have a natural ability that you should continue to develop. If you're disciplined enough to stick to the course and do the work, you could become a very powerful magician, because cross-communication between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is key. Thanks for the questions. Greetings, friend. Greetings. And now I have a two-part question that I would like to get your insight on. I work with sigils a lot. Previously, I never drew a border around them. I have heard at least one person say that if one doesn't do that, the energy will be scattered. I thought that was the point. I'm wondering what your thoughts on that are. Whatever feels right. As I said when I answered one of the previous questions, if it doesn't feel right, you probably shouldn't do it. To answer your question more specifically, I've had him work with both. The sigil that I gave on this channel earlier did not have a border, and it worked just fine. It's more important that the sigil looks magical in some way, and even more important that it feels right to you, that you're satisfied with your design. This leads me to the second part. As I have only made one sigil with a border, I am having difficulty forgetting it, so therefore I feel that my operation is being corrupted, or at least significantly stunted. Yes. Yeah, you have to forget it. You have to cast it and let it go. So, my thought is to get rid of all my sigils and start over. I basically know the subject of all of them, and they have been effective. I could easily make new sigils about the same subjects, and then I would better be able to forget them. My only concern is about destroying the sigils I have already made. What are your thoughts on that? I'm sure I don't need to explain my concerns here. I thank you ahead of time for your input, and I look forward to hearing back from you soon. Have an excellent day, and thank you for the question. No, as long as they're not charged, then you can get rid of them and destroy them, without having to worry about anything happening. The real issue should be, why do you want to start over? Now, I'm going to cover all this in my course, but if you're still remembering what they mean, that means you're not putting them away long enough. And if you have forgotten about them, well, that's most of the work right there. Charge them up and let them go. The temptation to start over usually occurs when you make too many sigils, can't remember what they mean, and don't know if you really want that to actually happen anymore because you don't remember what they are. So it's always best to have a clear and true intention, such as a life goal that you want to achieve in the coming year, so that there's no reason to start over. And we'll get into more of that in the upcoming program, but I thank you for your question. Can I ask you something? Yes. If you attack someone in your mind and the person is injured in the physical world, is it possible that it's your fault? Yes. Or thoughts cannot affect other people's destiny. How hard one's thoughts can affect someone else's destiny if you have the time, of course. Thanks. Oh yeah, absolutely, thoughts can affect other people. This happens all the time. It's just that most people aren't aware of it. I have a question about the daily rituals. In Leon Thomas's book, it says to do certain rituals at certain times of the day, one for sunset, afternoon, and midnight. Does it have to be actually at those times? Because I wake up at work at 1 p.m. Can I just do the rituals at night? I assume you're referring to the 4 adorations, which have to be done at those particular times. The other daily rituals you can do at any time, but the 4 adorations are meant to attune you to the phases of the sun throughout the day. And so you want to do them as close to those times as possible. It doesn't work any other way, unfortunately. Hello again, friend. I'm curious about your personal views on something, so I thought I'd shoot you a message. I assume you have heard of Jedi realist, or the Jedi religion, as some call it. I was curious as to your views on it. If you haven't taken much notice or acknowledgement of it, that's okay too. I was just curious. I myself am a Jedi realist, believe in the Force, etc., but don't let that affect your answer. Well, I believe magic and the Force are in essence the same thing, although perspective can differ. No, I don't really give it much thought other than to make correlations between the things that are presented in Star Wars, and I've used those in my lessons. There is a lot of truth within those films, but I don't subscribe to it as a religion. I'm already limited in the topics that I can converse with common people already without telling them that I'm a Jedi. If I were to tell them that I follow Hermeticism, however, they probably wouldn't even know what that is. There's enough truth for me in Hermetics. But I appreciate the question, young Padawan. Hi, freighterx. I just wanted to say thanks for your insights and guidance. I've been to the pillar and banishing ritual for about 2 months now. It's hard to describe what's going on, but something is. The most objective difference is that I used to get these horrible disempowering memories looping and playing over and over again of the most unpleasant experiences I could remember. I felt powerless to stop them fuck up my head. Seriously, it was unpleasant. And I realized that was a habit my mind had somehow picked up and was just getting worse with time. Yes. But something happened. Very slowly they got quieter and quieter. Imagine that. Helped a lot. My own work with a lot of guidance from you, for which I am grateful. It feels so much better to feel at home in my own mind. Yes, and if you combine that with the practice that I gave in some of my first videos of rejecting negative thoughts and accepting positive thoughts as if they were offers, then this will help even more. And this is not an uncommon thing. Many people have disempowering thoughts going through their mind all the time. And yes, it is habitual. But they have all these thoughts going through their head, and then they wonder why things aren't working out for them. But I'm glad that it's starting to work out for you. Keep up the good work, and then you'll be able to do great work. Thanks for sharing that experience. You know, I get just as many messages thanking me for making a difference and helping people as I do questions. I just don't have time to read all of them in a video, but rest assured I do read all of them and appreciate the gratitude and just glad that I can make a difference. Hello, smile. Anyway, I have a question for you. Have a bit of a problem with verbalize it. I'm looking for some info about a special type of mirror. Usually is made from aluminum and is not flat, a bit like a sphere. Just watch some videos about it. You can use it to get info from the past or from the future. There were some people around the world using it. I watched a very interesting video about Russian scientists who built something made of metal. It was like a tube or a hat, and they used it for the same purpose. I wonder if you can tell me more. No, I have no idea what that is. If anyone does, then they can send me some info on it, because I don't know what's made out of aluminum in the shape of a sphere that acts as a mirror. But I'm not really looking into such things, because I find that a crystal ball or a scrying mirror work, just as well. I personally use a black scrying mirror. Hello, Frater. I wanted to ask about motivation and discipline. If someone is depressed and in a very lazy, unmotivated mode all the time, how can they change that to do things that are important? At a young age, I have a few goals, and I need to stick to my daily activities, which is lots of discipline. Instead, I try to look for any type of hit I can get from reality. These hits kind of give me pleasure. It is like an addiction to trying to feel good but never doing hard work for future goals. Do you know what I mean? That's most people. And this is why I plug RSD Tyler's page, because he goes on about this all the time. In fact, he just released a video, Confessions of a Clickbait King or something, where he talks about people just clicking on things that make them, stupid shit, that makes them feel good, like a little dopamine addiction. Anything to escape reality and what they're supposed to be doing. I mean, bottom line is, you gotta want it. Of course, eating healthier will help you get the energy to get your ass in gear. But I would definitely watch some RSD Tyler's videos where he talks about motivation. Specifically, you only get so much time here, and the older you get, the faster time goes. It's true. And if you haven't gotten in gear by middle age, Saturn is going to kick your ass. Trust me on that. That's when people get into midlife crises and freak out. I mean, you consciously know what to do by merely asking that question. Therefore, it's only a matter of getting that desire and that instruction to do what you want to do into the subconscious. Hence doing magic. Do some magic for your goals. You'll find you'll have a lot more motivation to get things done. Greetings. But you mentioned that everything should be cleansed and consecrated, even the altar. Considering the methods of cleansing you mentioned are putting the objects under running water or burying them in salt or in the earth. I honestly don't understand how I'm supposed to do that with the relatively big piece of furniture that is my altar. How would you recommend cleansing something that big? I've heard you could cleanse with incense smoke as well. What is your opinion on that? Yes, you can cleanse with incense smoke. It's a mixture of fire and air. You can also sprinkle salt water on it. If you're worried about it damaging it, just wipe it off afterwards. But you can just sprinkle a little bit and do your cleansing and consecration ritual. There's no need to submerge it or bury it. That is primarily used for smaller objects. Thanks for allowing me to clarify that. Hi, Frater. Hope your construction work is going well. Yes, it is finished. And that we'll see a video from you soon, smiley face. Please note that your psychic defense video, specifically the return to sender approach, has worked miracles for me on my job, where I have been having difficulties with negative coworkers. It's amazing to see them experience what they are attempting to send to me. Thank you. You're welcome. 2 things, please. I was watching Uncle Birch. He mentioned something about attracting opposites on one plane. I can't remember if he said the spiritual or physical plane, and attracting the same on another plane. Again, I can't remember which plane. Can you speak to this? How can you attract opposites in the spiritual or physical plane and attract the same, someone or something just like you, on another? I believe he said opposites attract on the physical plane and like attracts like on the spiritual plane, if I remember correctly. To be honest, I haven't really given it much thought, but the law of polarity would make that possible. To me, it's more of a matter of what's put in your subconscious is what's going to be coming your way. I know you said that you do not read people's natal charts. That's correct. I would really like someone to read my chart. I'm learning about the planets, but I'm not there yet. Do you know of someone good that can read my chart? Of course, I know there will be a fee. Smiley face. Well, I really can't attest to anyone's quality of work because I do my chart myself. I don't hire anybody else. However, when I was learning astrology for myself, I learned quite a bit from a guy named Gao Sasson. You can order a reading from his website at cosmicnavigator.com for about $180 US. Freighterx. I am attempting to find my path and purpose. Good. I have Sun and Uranus in Sagittarius, with Pluto and Mercury in Scorpio. I'm drawn to the occult and higher learning, but don't know how to turn it into a career to be financially independent. Right now I work as a lab professional, assisting with drug screens on samples. I found some enjoyment in the security field as my rising sign is Libra, while having Saturn and Neptune in Capricorn. My number one priority is discovering my highest path and executing. Right now, I do lab work for income and occult higher learning on the side in my spare time. Is there something I should be doing to streamline myself into my highest purpose, or should I just keep doing what I'm doing? Well, it's not really my place to say what people should or should not be doing. We each have our own path. That said, you may be drawn to occult, philosophy, higher learning with those planet placements. That doesn't necessarily mean that you should be doing that professionally. I would look to the sign and house that your natal Mars and Venus are in. And I know I've mentioned this before, but I will elaborate a bit further. Mars is your motivation. It is your drive. It is the reason you get out of bed in the morning. So whatever you're doing, you want to be self-motivated to keep doing it. Venus is what you value. It's what you love. And so when people ask me what they should be doing, I say look to your natal Mars and Venus. What sign are they in and what house are they in? Because combining what you value and love with motivation is a winning combination. It is the male and female polarity, and anytime you have polarity, you can establish a circuit for things to flow. And I hope this gives a little bit more insight to the person who was asking about motivation earlier. Hi, I'm so glad I stumbled upon your channel. I believe I have a perfect example of synchronicity that happened just today. I've been wondering if my own mother's negative thoughts have an effect on my progress in life. Today I wrote in my journal, I could never tell whether you're praying for me to succeed or hoping that I fail. Less than 4 hours later, I ran across your lessons when I was looking for videos on how to play the lottery. I'm not stranger to magic though. I've been called a natural witch and I have dabbled in magic before. I have psychic ability, and it's unruly as an uncombed head of hair on a wild banshee. I should have long taken up the practice to learn to control what I have, but my parents' strong religious beliefs always stood in my way. I'm at the point where I'm desperate for answers, because no matter how well I plan, every plan I make fails. And I have a gut feeling that it's my mom's unwittingly jinxing me. I just want to thank you for providing a channel like this. I think I know the answer to my question now, and that I need to move far away from my family's influence. Well, I don't know if you need to go to that extreme. And I don't know if your mother is jinxing you. But I do know that you're jinxing yourself. Do you see what you've written here? And I covered all this in Words of Power. I explain the self-imposed jinx and how to counter it. But the first thing you need to do is stop saying these kinds of things and start saying what you want to be as if it is. For by your own words it will be done. So cut out the self-imposed jinx and perform self-imposed blessings in its stead for 3 months and make it a habit and see how that affects your situation. Alright, so this video is getting pretty lengthy and I'm going to need to cut the questions here. I still have many more to come, but I think that will about do it for today, and until next time, take care.